Here we go, beautiful people. It's episode 109 of the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever you're watching or listening as we record this on Tuesday, May 21st. So I'll take a big sip of coffee, huh? Right there, Napoleon oil. You like olive oil? Napoleon olive oil, that's your spot. All right. Shout out to Tony and the crew. All right. Episode 109, Daily Puck Drop, hashtag the DPD. Huh? Now, that was a Mariners victory yesterday. And that was a terrible kind of clap. Kind of was spastic in a way. That was probably, without a doubt, one of the most fun victories of the Mariners season. Well, not even the most fun, like the most unpredictable win. The best win, most exciting win. Your team is getting it pretty much shoved for an entire ball game and you're really not doing anything. And your starting pitcher kind of wobbles in that first part of the game, but then is able to kind of recover and get going and kind of keep that powerful lineup at bay. And then your offense comes through in the end once they get to their bullpen against an unbelievable closer who has been lights out. And you really don't hit the ball all that hard. I mean, you get a swinging bunt by your best player who ends up, because speed kills. I mean, this is the thing about baseball that I love about the sport. I mean, there's a lot of things I love about the sport, and speed kills probably in everything that you do, right? It doesn't matter what sport it is. But when you struggle in baseball, the one thing that you cannot teach is effort and speed. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's inherent for a lot of these ball players, and you saw it on hand. In that ninth inning. Effort, hustle, belief, and speed. As bad as Julio has been with slugging the baseball, all right? And that's why he's been paid a lot of money. And I do believe it's going to happen for him. It's going to come. Eventually he'll be there. But when you possess the speed like he has, I mean, he's a 6'4" or 6'3", whatever he is, 230 pounds. He's Ichiro. You got to throw him out. He's too fast. Yes, he's not hitting the ball hard. But they don't win the game yesterday if he doesn't give maximum effort going down that first baseline. And the same can be said for Luke Raley. Again, Gleyber Torres, he bobbles the ball. It's an errant throw. But it's an errant throw because Luke Raley, as big as he is just busting his ass down the line. I mean, I'm going to show that play to my Little League team and be like, this is how you run. We try to tell you guys all the time, but this is how you run because speed kills. It just does. Speed and hustle kills because it speeds up the defense. I mean, you see it at the Little League level, but you see it at the professional level. You see somebody that is just busting their ass up the line. You know, it happens, and you make a mistake, but I know Julio's struggling. Infield hit, but that ninth inning, Cal working the walk. Again, Luke Raley, speed just kills, forcing Torres to throw that ball a little bit errant. They score from second. Then there's the blooper by Mitch Haniger. Maybe that gets him going a little bit. That scores Cal. And then one of the great at-bats. Not only of last night. In fact, I could almost say it was the best at bat last night. But maybe one of the best ABs this season delivered by Dylan Moore. He's down 0-2 quickly. He battles all the way back in that ninth inning to get it to a full count, and then he works a walk. And then that's followed up later by just another great at bat. By Ty France, who goes the other way. Just an awesome inning of a team that is so flawed in so many ways, but again has just found ways to pull games out. And it is true, they will get, and we talked about this yesterday, and Kruger brought this up, they will get dominated by the starter. And they do. I mean, they don't hit the starters well this year. You can go back and look at it. They don't do well against the other team's starters, but once they get into that bullpen, and almost it's going to be a strategy for some of these other teams. I wonder if they just say, we're going to keep our starters in longer against them, because Seattle has shown this ability to get that starter out, work into the bullpen, then all of a sudden the offense kind of comes alive. Now, is that the greatest recipe in the world to win games? No, but it's working for them. It doesn't matter how you win the games, just win. And they are finding ways to win, right? It's the Notre Dame sign. I think at Kentridge we had the same thing. Find a way to win. It's just so true. Find a way to win. It does not matter what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. Just get a win. And they're doing it. I mean, we can pick them apart every single night, and we do, and everybody does. We pick them apart. Oh, well, they didn't do this well. Oh, they didn't do that well. Oh, they don't have this well. They don't do this. They don't do that. They struggle here. They struggle there. But at the end of the day, look at where they sit right now. I mean, they sit atop the American League West. They're playing good baseball. They're a good baseball team. They're a flawed baseball team, but there's a lot of teams in baseball that are flawed. But they sit at 4 games over 500, or 26 and 22. They currently have, just looking up, the 5th best record in the American League, just 6.5 games behind the Yankees. They've got the Guardians and the Orioles and the Royals. These are the only teams ahead of them right now. I mean, there's only, again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 4 teams, 5th best record. 4 teams that are better than them right now, record-wise. And I think we would look at the Royals and go, I don't think there's a huge difference between them and the Royals. The Orioles did prove to be a better baseball team, but I also think that was a closer series than I think we give Seattle credit for. And then you saw last night with the Yankees. So, again, flawed, again, maddening, but at the same time, it's just a fun team right now. And that was a fun win. Andres Munoz was dominant in the 9th inning. 3 straight pitches to start off the 9th inning. Anthony Volpe, that was awesome. The Aaron Judge strikeout was just magnifique. I mean, to just paint 100 miles an hour on the outside black and have that guy just look at it. Oh, Jesus. God, what a pitch. Go back if you can to the MLB.com or Mariners.com. And you can look at where all the pitch location that they do. Just go look at that and admire where the StatCast had that pitch. I mean, you couldn't, if he walked the ball to the place where he wanted it to be against Judge, he couldn't have walked it there better. And what he did on that pitch. Great to see Munoz come through. Gilbert, again, as I said, shaky in the first, right? But he bounced back. Doesn't give up another hit after that shaky first inning until the 4th. Gets a little bit of trouble in the 5th inning. There was singles from Soto and Judge. Gets the double play on remember you got the Julio error and the Verdugo hit. But he maintains. He gets through that okay. The 7th inning, they get their defense picks him up. Cal's throw out on Volpe to get him out. Snead gets in a little bit of trouble. Not a little bit, a lot. He walks Soto and Judge. Give credit to Bizzardo, who comes in. He gets that double play on Giancarlo Stanton. Huge play there. And then just, what they were able to do in the 9th inning against Holmes, who's been huge. League-leading 13 saves, 1 blown save, ERA of 0.00. I mean, and they came out, and they just they got to him right away. So that was awesome. That was an awesome game last night. One of those games that I think they'll look back on and just have great like how this season plays out. We'll have kind of great memories of that game. All right, so they'll be back at it today. The total in the game today, because the M's bet under summer continues to rock and roll. But we lost yesterday. The total was 8. So we lost that one because obviously it was 9 runs. The now record on the season is 7-11-1. That's okay, because we keep telling you this is a marathon and it is not a sprint, okay? So just be patient. Keep betting the under. DraftKings Sportsbook app tonight's got the total at 7.5. Brian Wu on the mound. Brian Wu has been great so far in a few starts. 0.93 ERA going up against Clark Schmidt. And Schmidt 5-1 with a 2.49 ERA. And again, the total tonight is 7.5. So if you're playing at home, and I know you are, on the BetM's Under Summer Tour, take the under. But again, right now it's 7, 11, and 1 right now. And of course, we always use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. All right. On yesterday's program, Jim Duquette, former GM of the Orioles and the New York Mets, we were talking about all things baseball, and he's great. Go check out his show that he does on Sunday nights with Jim Bowden on Sirius XM, Major League Baseball Radio Network, 2 GMs just talking baseball. And a big name that has been brought up for a trade destination is going to be Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso in New York, and just how things go with the Mets. Do they want to unload Alonso? Alonso has been tied to Seattle for a very, very long time. It just feels like anytime we start talking about good fits or good pieces that the Mariners could add, Pete Alonso's name constantly is being brought up for good reason. Guy has put up great numbers. It's weird that this year is considered a disappointing season for Pete Alonso. I want to get into that in a quick second. But when we were talking about fits for Seattle and trade pieces that they can go after at the deadline, we've talked a lot about with Jim and others about bullpen will be a need for them, will be a fit. But they require another bat desperately. And they require another bat specifically at first base. That's what makes Alonso so appealing. And so I asked Jim on yesterday's show, which is the Monday show, the Jim Duquette show, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub, comes out on Mondays. Asked Jim, what would it take to get someone like Pete Alonso? And he brought up immediately 21-year-old Harry Ford.
In terms of, a premium prospect, like a top 2 in your organization, you probably don't have to give that up, but it's going to hurt. Like, it's going to be painful. Top 3, Harry Ford is a guy that might be an overpay. Okay. But you might be one of those where you're like, well, to get him, we might, be willing to part with him. You hate to do it because you're only renting Alonso for 2 months.
So that brings up the point. Do you want to trade someone like Harry Ford for what most likely would be a few months rental for Pete Alonso? Because that's what it's. I mean, you can dream big and hopefully they can sign him, because Alonso's going to be a free agent, by the way, at the end of the season. So the asking price would be high for Pete Alonso. Harry Ford's 21. He is doing great in AA Arkansas. 267, 415, slugging, 873 OPS. Got 4 home runs. He's driven in 14. What you don't know with Harry Ford is long-term, what is his position? He's a catcher. Has made no bones about it that he wants to remain a catcher and does not want to move off that spot. And he's a good catcher. I mean, he is extremely fast, extremely athletic. Like it's weird. He's almost a throwback player. He's a guy that this year is 9 for 9 on stolen bases. You just don't see that from catchers. The offensive ceiling for him is high right now. He ranks second. He's their second. I think their second overall prospect. I think 28th in baseball. He ranks, I got to double check on that one. He ranks 4th in the Texas League in on-base percentage. He's 7th in OPS. He's 29 walks, is the second most in the Texas League. And as I mentioned before, 9 for 9 in stolen bases there for Harry Ford. Now, a lot of people are going to see it because we get infatuated, mesmerized, in love with all these prospects, and we just can't give up prospects. And it's been an organization, we talk about this all the time. It's been an organization that for position players, they just haven't developed any talent. I mean, look at it. I mean, they really, for the most part, how Dipoto and his crew have put this together, they've done this without really significant help at all from guys that they have drafted. I mean, Cal's an exception. France is a trade. Polanco's a trade. Crawford's a trade. Whoever you put in at third. Whoever left is, a rotating cast of characters. Julio, but that we'll give him credit for Julio, but he's an undrafted free agent. But it's the same thing. And then right field is Haniger. So again, there's no talent on this team that they have truly drafted other than Cal. Now, that's the opposite for the starting pitching. Starting pitching, it's for the most part, right? It's all homegrown. Kirby, Gilbert, Wu, Miller. Castillo's the one trade. So it's always been kind of weird how they've been able to identify that talent on the pitching side, but not on the positional player side. They've used it to acquire players, but this could be another scenario where you want this influx of talent coming up through your minor league system that you can replenish your roster with. They've yet to do it. Ford seems to be a guy that is on the cusp of doing it. What position does he play? He is a natural. I watched him play at Everett one time. But anything that you read, any highlights you see of him, he is a natural gifted athlete. If they put him at second, if they put him at third, there is no, especially third, there is no doubt that Harry Ford could handle himself at one of those positions. Which, by the way, you start looking in their system, they don't have it. They don't have a future. Well, yeah, some of the younger guys, I guess, eventually could be there, the Coles. But for him right now, yeah, he could be your potential, long-term third baseman. I don't think he's going to be catcher, right? I don't actually want him to be catcher because that would mean that they couldn't get anything done with Cal Raleigh. I want Cal Raleigh to be the catcher of this team for a very long time. And that if that means getting in the way of Harry Ford, well, so be it. Best case scenario, you can keep Ford, but they are not that far away offensively from being a team that will do damage in the postseason, has a chance, a real chance of winning the whole damn thing. If they can just get more offensive help. Pete Alonso represents that offensive help. And you say, well, he's just having a terrible year. This is Pete Alonso's struggling year, which by all accounts, he is struggling based on his previous time. But he would be like the leader on the Mariners in almost every offensive category. Okay? 235, 30. Here's his slash line. 235, 309, 454, 762. 10 home runs, 23 runs driven in. He'd be tied with home runs with Cal. He's second in RBIs behind Cal. He's first in slugging, and he's your leader in OPS. That's struggling Pete Alonso, which, again, is true, but it just highlights, right? It just highlights how bad collectively this offense has been. But again, you do run the risk, excuse me, you run the risk of acquiring him. And this is the balance between it because you are most likely just renting him because his agent, wait for it, Scott Boras, and Scott Boras he's not going to allow him to sign anything at all. That guy is going to free agency. And then, can the Mariners, I'll rephrase it. Can the Mariners sign him? Yes. Will they sign him? They have not shown an aggressiveness to sign guys like this. Now, maybe Hollander and Dipoto would like to, but this ownership group has not shown the willingness to open up their wallet for a positional player who is a free agent. They just have not shown that they want to do that. He's 29, year remaining on that deal. I don't know what the comps would be. I'm just looking back. Matt Olson, when he was 27, signed an 8-year deal, 168. Cody Bellinger this past offseason, remember that was a disaster for him, but a disaster got you $80 million. 3 years, $80 million. I think that you're looking at probably 150 plus 160, probably where Olson was at. And again, the question is not can they afford it? Yes, they can afford it. It's just, do they want to afford it? Do they want to finally position themselves as a big league market, which they are? Do not have anyone tell you they are mid-market. They are not a mid-market team. They are the furthest thing from a mid-market team. They live in Seattle. You go check the cost of living and Fortune 500 companies and all of that. This notion they are mid-market is the dumbest thing that people say. And it's said a lot. And it really is so inaccurate and stupid. And then it makes excuses for the ownership group. There's nothing mid-market about them. That's a top-tier market. And they could go out if they want to and can afford a player like this. They just got to weigh do we part with a guy that we love in Harry Ford, who long-term could be the answer, versus a short-term fix? That short-term fix could be the player, though, that pushes us over the edge in the postseason and wins a World Series. Well, if we knew that, the trade, everyone would agree to it. There wouldn't be one person that would say, if you make this trade, you lose Ford. Ford turns into an all-star for years to come, but Pete Alonso wins you a World Series. If there is a Mariners fan out there who'd say, I don't know if the trade-off is great for just one World Series, but Harry Ford turns into one of the better players in Major League Baseball. It's a trade-off for me is fine. So be it. Part of acquiring talent and drafting talent, identifying talent in baseball is one, it's going to help you, but it can help you directly and indirectly. And Harry Ford would have helped you both, right? Indirectly would have helped you acquire somebody like Pete Alonso. So the question will just be financially. Financially, will they be able to do it? And will the asking price be high? People have wondered why would the asking price be so high for someone like Pete Alonso? Because I think teams are going to be aggressive to try and acquire him. As Jim Duquette said on Monday's show, you're going to have Houston, who again is right there, and the Astros will not go away. They will not go away. And at the end of the year, we're going to get into late August. My guess is they'll be hanging around before the deadline. And something just tells me that ownership group and that front office will be aggressive to go and acquire talent. And then I think the other team that Jim brought up was Cleveland. Does Cleveland have enough in their tank, in their system, to make something happen for them, knowing that in all likelihood with their group, they're not going to re-sign him, but again, a few month rental for him is well worth it if at the end of it, the Guardians are winning a World Series, a championship. So you ask yourself, why is the asking price high? It's because there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to be in the services for Pete Alonso, because he most likely is going to be dangled out here pretty soon with how kind of the Mets season is going. All right, here on the Daily Puck Drop, we wrap up every show, the DPD, with Hey, What the Puck? Hey, What the Puck? And we'll talk more about this with John Canzano, whose episode is going to drop today at 1 o'clock. I should also mention we made a little programming switch with the show. I've removed Brad Adam, not permanently. We've removed him from Wednesdays. Because we wanted to kind of break up the baseball stuff. So Brad Adam, all brought to you by John Howie Steak. Shout out John. Brad, eventually you'll meet him at some point. Brad will be joining us on Tuesday. So you're going to hear from Brad today, as well as John Canzano. Those episodes, like all of our other episodes for our interviews, will drop at 1 o'clock every single day. Just wanted to get that out there. We're going to bring this up to Canzano, Georgia quarterback, and I didn't even know that he transferred to Georgia, by the way. Jaden Rashada. He was the young man that was committed to Miami, dropped his commitment to Miami, then committed to Florida, dropped his commitment from Florida, went and signed with Arizona State, played with Arizona State, and then I didn't know that he dropped from Arizona State. Left Arizona State, now has enrolled at the University of Georgia. Well, Rashada was, if you remember the story, there was these just figures being thrown out there when he was coming out of high school that he was getting almost $14 million in NIL deals. And people are like, what is going on? And people were confused, and a lot of people were like, this is fake. It ended up being fake because Florida just really didn't have the money. Well, Jaden Rashada today, again, has transferred to Georgia. If you know anything about that rivalry, it's as heated as any rivalry in college football, Georgia and Florida. Rashada is suing Florida coach Billy Napier and several Gators, their top boosters, for a failed NIL deal that would have paid him a little over $13 million. He's hired a lawyer, and it's a lawyer that you have heard of, and he is one of the best, and he's a big-time character, Rusty Hardin. Does everybody remember Rusty Hardin? Roger Clemens, remember when he was going through the whole steroid stuff with Major League Baseball, his lawyer, Rusty Hardin. Adrian Peterson, when he took off the branch, was hitting his kid with it. I don't mean to laugh. Who uses a branch? I know it's different cultures, different parts of the country. I get it. I'm not judging. All right. Adrian Peterson, remember, so Rusty Hardin was his lawyer. Part of it is just that they lied to him. That this is the lawsuit. They lied to him. They promised him all this money. And that when he signed, he was supposed to receive like $500,000 on the day that he signed. There was no deal. And so he's like, hey, what the fuck? Where's my money? And he alleges that he turned down $9.5 million from Miami to go to Florida for 14. So he's like, I left $9.5 million on the table because you guys promised me $14 million. Now he allegedly did get, see, that's why I don't even believe the 9.5 from Miami, because he goes to ASU. And according to all the reports, he didn't receive anything at ASU. So ASU didn't pay him anything. And I don't know what his numbers are at Georgia. It's a fascinating story. There's so many tentacles to it. One, in this age of this NIL, where schools and collectives and boosters can get, in some hot water if they promise something they can't deliver. And now the athlete saying, hey, I signed there or wanted to sign there and you promised me this money. Where is it? So I do, from the athlete's perspective on this one, I will align myself with them. If you sign somewhere because a collective has given you a promise of something, yeah, I think you have every right to sue and pursue this. And I would, if I'm a school, I'd be careful what I'm promising. And for the athlete, I'd get it in writing. Make sure you get this stuff in writing. This is what I'm being offered. But I can't wait to see how this plays out. One, and the other thing too is the whole rivalry between Georgia and Florida, and then the distraction that it does cause. So I think I can get why Kirby Smart is doing, but it's a distraction for Kirby Smart. He's got to deal with it. Got to deal with it SEC days, and I mean that's going to be a fiasco. And like Napier is there, and Kirby Smart is there, and they're like their 15-day event that they hold. Fun story to watch. We'll bring it up with Canzano today. Golf news. So if you've been following, there was the Scheffler arrest. There's a brand new story on golf.com. By the way, go check out and read it, golf.com. That detail, like more details of what happened with Scotty Scheffler and the police officer. The reporter interviews Bob Wischusen, who is the broadcaster, play-by-play guy for ESPN. So he gets his account, which kind of backs up more of like Scheffler's account, like, I didn't really do anything wrong. This cop's being a little bit overzealous. So we'll see. His arraignment got delayed till June. He's going to plead not guilty. We'll see where that goes. But here's it. And I don't know if any of this is true, but hey, what the puck? This is juicy stuff. And I'm all in on this. So the other storyline that came out, one of them, pause for a sip of coffee. Still looking for a coffee sponsorship, by the way, local. Even if you make a homebrew, just send it my way. We'll give you some love. Rory McIlroy got a divorce, right? Didn't want to talk about it, personal, all that. Well, there are now, the golf rumorville is coming out that it's because he was having an extramarital affair. Happens to the best of us. Not me, but to the best of us. Yeah, you walk out on your wife, you walk out on your husband. Happens all the time. But the alleged person that he may have, and again, I stress may have, this is all kind of golf internet rumor, but hey, on Hey, What the Puck, we address all stories. That the person in question is CBS golf reporter Amanda Balionis. She is, if you don't know who Amanda is, you recognize her if you're a golf fan. She does for CBS, she does all of the post round, on the green interviews, Butler cabin interviews, very attractive, very pretty, does great at her job, all that. So that is the rumor, that she resides in San Diego and Rory's been spotted in San Diego, and that he picked up food one time from a takeout place and used Amanda as the name, yada, yada, yada. Again, how much of it is true? Am I being a bad person by talking about it, bringing it up? Probably, but it's golf fodder and rumors, and I'm here for all of it. But if it is true, boy, CBS has got just a mess on their hands. What do you do? Do you punish her? Do you fire her? you reprimand her? Do you say, hey, this happens? Which it happens all the time in sports. All the time. It's part of it. There should be a line that you probably don't cross, but it's been crossed a lot and it's always this way, right? It's because, female reporter to male athlete, but it's juicy. And apparently she's going through a divorce, like at the same time. And she has dropped she's back to her maiden name and all of it. Hey, get married. Wouldn't that be great if CBS keeps her? Rory goes on, Rory wins a major and she's the first one to interview him. Like at the Masters. Be great theater. And then here's another side golf story. I saw this video yesterday on X of this guy that was paired up in Louisville with, a fourth that they didn't know. And the video was out there. I'll try to, I'll send it out on X here. And the guy was immensely slow, had like a pre-shot routine that took 30 plus seconds. Here's the thing. And you can comment in the comment section. What's the protocol with that? This is why I hate being a single, getting paired up with somebody else. I don't like it. It's awkward conversations, especially if it's three buddies and then they're there and do you interact with them? Do you not interact with them? You try to stay out of the way. When I have done it, I try, especially with it's a group of three and you're the odd man there, which doesn't happen a lot. I don't like playing. I'll play as a single, but I want to play by myself. I don't want other people there. I just try to stay out of the way. It's their moment. I'm not interjecting myself into their conversations. If they welcome you in with something, okay, fine. I'll keep to myself, get out of the way. But what happens when the person that is added to your group is like a slow, bad golfer, taking their time, reading the greens, practice swings, all that? When do you say something? And is it appropriate to say something because you don't know them? Is it something subtle? Or is it just direct? Hey, man, we got to pick up the pace. Because now you don't know this person. Now this could lead to conflict. Do you say, what I would do would be like, hey, man, do you want to play ahead? I mean, we're slowing you down. It's a passive aggressive way of just saying, get and move the F on, please. So I would handle it that way. Hey, why don't you play ahead of us? If you can. The best case scenario, there's no one ahead of you. Say, why don't you just play ahead? I ran into this scenario a few years ago at Palouse Ridge. And this guy drove me and my buddies crazy. And I was so mad he got paired up with us. There was no one else on the course. There wasn't a group behind us. There wasn't a group in front of us. And I mean, no one. And we're like, and he doesn't even play with us on the first tee. He drives up on his cart as we're on the green. He's like, hey, do you mind if I play with you guys? We're like, no, we do mind. And we're like, yeah, I guess, but like, hey, this course is wide open. And so we get to the second hole and we're like, hey man, why don't you just play ahead? Like the course is open. You'll finish this in like 2.5 hours. And he turns and goes, oh, I like to play with people. And I didn't know what to do at this point. Looking back on it, I should have just said, play ahead. We're playing as a threesome. We don't want an extra player. Sorry. I know that's kind of being a dick, but can you just move on and play ahead? That's what I should have said. But we said, okay. And then he proceeded to be slow and then like golf instructor guy. So one of my buddies would swing and like pushed it right. I'm like, man, you had that club face open, I think. God, we wanted to beat the shit out of this guy so bad after the round. It ruined the round. So I don't know what the solution is with slow golfer guy. How do you handle it? Leave comments below. Lastly, the JJ Reddick to the Lakers thing is heating up. People in the league saying he could be, wait for it, the next Pat Riley. That's okay. Let's go ahead and already compare him to one of the greatest basketball minds in the history of the league. But what is interesting, the comp to it, Pat Riley was the radio guy for the Lakers. That was his gig. And then when Paul Westphal got the job, he ended up just going on Paul's staff. and was his assistant coach. And then from there, as they won a championship, and then the whole Westfall thing fell apart. Did I say Paul Westfall? Paul Westhead. When that whole thing, I don't know why I thought Paul Westfall. But when that whole thing fell apart, then Riley, of course, went in to be the coach of the Lakers. Now he went into a great situation. He's got Magic. He's got Kareem. But he ended up being an unbelievable head coach and now front office personnel with the Heat. So I don't doubt that J.J. Reddick could do it. But do know that J.J. Reddick will get the job because he's buddies with LeBron. But, hey, it's who you know in this industry, isn't it? It's in all businesses. Doesn't matter what you do. It's not so much about are you skilled enough for it or are you prepared for it? Are you qualified for it? It's who you know, right? So good for J.J. Reddick. I actually think he'd probably be pretty good at it. All right, that is the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD here on Tuesday, May 21st. Coming up later, released at 1 o'clock, John Canzano, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. And then, of course, we mentioned this earlier. We're moving Brad Adam to Tuesday. So Brad from Root Sports, pregame host there for the Mariners, will be joining us, all brought to you by John Howie Steak. How about that? All right. Those are coming out at 1 o'clock today at pucksports.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!